AIXBT has been one of the best performing artificial intelligence cryptocurrencies in the last weeks. Now, how much longer can this rally last? Let's have a look at the on-chain metrics most people aren't considering. Let's look at the buyers and sellers. Let's see what's driving this rally. Now, this is not the first video on AIXBT on this channel. I published a video roughly 1 month ago, and that video underperformed an average video. In other words, this is again an example of the YouTube algorithm. When a token isn't yet that popular, there's no audience. When there's no audience, then of course nobody watches something. That's the fundamental conflict of interest on YouTube. But it's important to watch videos on assets that nobody knows of yet, because that video was published when the price was still at 17 cents. Now AIXBT is the 7th largest cryptocurrency on the base chain when considering the liquidity pool size, and the price is at 64 cents, so it went up by 275%. So if you want to be early next time, feel free to follow this channel over here, right? Feel free to subscribe. Feel free to potentially even hit notifications, because again, the YouTube algorithm doesn't necessarily send the videos that might have the most upside potential. Now, in the last week, the Virtuals protocol has been the most successful category within all of crypto. It went up on average by 50%, and AIXBT specifically has 127,000 holders. Let's have a look at those holders. What we're seeing over here is the number of retail investors and the number of whale investors, and something in between in the middle. So the way we make this distinction is with minimum holding thresholds. So it's 2,000 tokens on the left. That's the minimum holding that a wallet has to have in order to appear on this chart. It's 20,000 tokens for the chart in the middle, and it's 200,000 tokens for the chart on the right. So that equals to roughly $1,000, $10,000, $100,000. We can see how the small retail investor continues to accumulate. Now, I call this small retail, it's 9,000 wallets, but in the grand scheme of things, this is already the top 10% of holders, right? So most holders, more than 90%, have less than $1,000 worth of the token. But those micro wallets don't really move the price. That's why I like to ignore them. We can also see accumulation by medium-sized retail. So that's now the wallets with at least $10,000. It's not as quick anymore, especially since the beginning of December of last year, but still there is some growth. Unfortunately, since the beginning of December of last year, we tend to see how the number of whales rather decline. It's not declining quickly, but it's definitely not going up, which gives us a hint that pretty much all of this current rally is driven by small retail. We can also see how the number of users per day is increasing. So on the left side, that's the returning users. On the right side, it's the new users versus returning users normalized to 100% per day. Now here's something interesting. The AIXBT token is not just traded on chain. It already has adoption by the centralized exchanges. Now this means several things. The more ownership there is by the centralized exchanges, the more the volatility can go up, and the less the price gets determined by organic growth. But what it also means is, since there is still trading on chain, that there could be more accumulation by those centralized exchanges. So once the Uniswap V3 trading volume goes down, and it's not 18%, but maybe just 10%, maybe just 5%, at that point in time, the centralized exchanges will own that much of the supply that trading the token just based on on-chain metrics will become pretty much impossible. Because again, then the trading data is hidden in those black boxes. Now there's an interesting shift happening in the last few days. It seems like money is not flowing into crypto anymore. There was a pretty strong expansion in the last weeks. This expansion seems to have halted. Have a look at this. This is the market cap of various stablecoins, so DAI, USDT, USDC, BUSD. And whenever this line is going up, this means that money is flowing from the traditional finance world into crypto. Whenever this is going down, it means like people are withdrawing from crypto. And the crypto market as a whole is rather shrinking. Since October of 2023, we are on expansion mode, but have a look at what happens in the last few days. We aren't yet clearly turning around, but we're definitely not growing either. Since the middle of December 2024, we tend to go sideways, and we might even now shrink slowly. Now, as long as we are shrinking very slowly or we're going sideways, things are okay when we've got an edge in the market now, right? It's still player versus player, but as long as we have got data that's better than what most other people have, we can still make money. It simply just gets a bit tougher. Have a look at this here. This is the others dominance. So how much of all of crypto is in altcoins that are not in the top 10? And we seem to be somewhat historically in a trading range. Currently, we are not necessarily super elevated, but we are not at rock bottom either. The altcoins in aggregate could still continue to go down. In the last few days, we definitely did not go up. The potential underperformance of altcoins versus the rest of the market is another 16% loss. At the same time, Bitcoin is still above its best moving average, the 120-day, but there is potential, even in a continued bull market, to still drop by maybe 15%, all the way down to 80K. The market seems to be clearly shifting to artificial intelligence related tokens. The Virtuals protocol ecosystem gained 47% in the last week. AI agent launchpads in general performed very well. AI memes, AI agents, it's all artificial intelligence. What did not do so well? It's mainly the technical tokens. It's oracles, it's IoT, it's perpetual futures markets, it's data availability, infrastructure, etc. And so as we're becoming more and more player versus player, having somewhat of a market edge versus the others becomes more and more important. For example, have a look at this. This is Kyle Chessy, influencer Kyle Chessy, that bought AIXBT for only 1.8 cents. He actually bought into the token several times. He was dollar cost averaging very, very aggressively. And now the price is not at a few cents. Now it's at $1.77. Pretty much a 100x. And so this is how I believe we can get a market edge. This is how we can win in this player versus player game. We have to follow people that historically made good trades, but we also have to follow people that can move the markets. Here is the YouTube channel of Kyle Chessy. He's got 141,000 subscribers. And here are the wallets that we track by Kyle Chessy. So we've got 12 of his wallets. We've got more than 400 wallets in total. And that is how we get alerts like this, how he swapped for AI16Z at less than 2 cents. Now, Kyle Chessy is a guy that tends to make this VC approach, right? The venture capital approach, where you buy a lot of tokens with a lot of upside potential, but where you're already calculating that many of those tokens will go to zero. So the calculation is not necessarily that we can simply buy everything that Kyle Chessy buys and we make wins all the time. The calculation is rather that the wins are so large in magnitude that you can afford a lot of losses, right? When you've got one win that makes 100x, then you can have 9 out of 10 losers. It's still fine. You make very nice performance. This is what Kyle Chessy is doing. But have a look at this. We don't just have Kyle Chessy. We are also tracking Crypto Banter. We've got 33 of their wallets. And Crypto Banter clearly moves markets. They've got 1.1 million subscribers. Whenever they talk about a single token, of course, this brings a lot of attention. Attention then brings purchases. Purchases then bring increasing prices. Or check this out. This is Alex Becker. We've got 12 of his wallets. He's got even more subscribers. He's got 1.5 million and he tends to talk about small tokens as well, again influencing prices. And so this is all part of the premium membership of this channel. It's down below. It's thebitcoinstrategy.com. Feel free to check it out. There's not just wallet tracking alerts, right? We've also got tutorial videos, more than 100 in total, on topics like risk mitigation, portfolio diversification, back testing, and of course also wallet tracking. There's even a dedicated tutorial course on just how to find influencer wallets and how to then track them and how to subsequently also interpret the signals that we get from the tracking. Once we've got a signal, we also have to discuss, of course, when should we buy, when should we sell, what are the current on-chain analytics, etc. That's why we've got dedicated chats on the individual altcoins in premium as well. So feel free to check it out. It's currently $165 per month. There's also a 1-week money back guarantee. So in case you don't like premium, in case you don't learn anything, then feel free to simply just message me within the first 7 days and I'll refund you 100%. There's really zero risk for you. Now, here is the $1 million question. How much more upside potential is there for AIXBT? Can it 10x from here? Can it 100x from here? what is actually realistic? Let's have a look at the data. So in the last month, the price went up by 278%. Virtual's protocol itself, on the other hand, went up by 197%. Now this is no real surprise because of course the protocol itself has a much larger market cap than AIXBT, right? It's roughly 8 times larger. And the more capital it requires to move a token, of course, the slower the percentage changes are. But let's have a look at the ecosystem of Virtual's protocol as a whole. AIXBT is already the largest of the AI agents with $600 of market cap. Luna, which was one of the first great performers of the Virtual's protocol, has only 166 million. Veda AI, which is also one of the best performers recently, has just a bit over 100. And so there's several ways to play this, right? It's always about risk versus reward. I think it's better, instead of buying the largest caps, to buy multiple smaller caps and diversify a little bit. Of course, when buying a smaller cap token, there's also a higher risk to potentially go down, but we can mitigate some of that risk by buying more than just one of those smaller tokens while still preserving a lot of the upside. And so on this list, what still has more upside? I very much like to see a lot of positive momentum while the market cap is still small. So for example, the Convo token, which more than doubled, still has a market cap of below 100 million. I think that's a better bet now than AIXBT. There is somewhat of a sweet spot, right? It doesn't necessarily make sense to buy something that's already up 2000% within a week, because then there's a lot of people that take profit. But when it's about the delta of 50% versus 100%, the selling pressure isn't really that much larger for Convo, say compared to AIXBT. The gains have been pretty similar, but the upside, I believe, is higher for the smaller token. But again, the best thing is of course to always look at the on-chain metrics as well. Now this is not a video about Convo, but about AIXBT. So let's have a look at the on-chain metrics just in the last month. Here's again the number of holders, but this time only for the last 30 days. The number of small retail investors with $1,000 worth of the token roughly doubled. The number of medium-sized retail investors grew by roughly 30%. And again, the whales tend to rather distribute right now, which I personally do not like. This shows me that the whales are now shifting to other tokens. This is how crypto works in general, right? It's both a game of luck, but also of skill. And the people that have a lot of capital in crypto, that are already the whales and they can put hundreds of thousands of dollars in a single token, they tended to make the right calls in the past. So if the heavyweights, if the smart money is not buying that quickly anymore, probably the risk to reward is better in other places. I'm not saying that AIXBT has to go down from here, but what I am saying is that there are probably tokens on the virtual protocol that are going to do better in the next week. Everything might go up, but AIXBT might not go up more than the rest. It already outperformed previously. Attention comes in waves. Now we tend to be rather high on the attention wave for AIXBT. And again, there is correlation between price and attention. The number of buyers and sellers has hit a quite high level yesterday. We can ignore the latest data point because today isn't yet over, right? The year has just started. In case you got some value out of this video, feel free to subscribe. I publish videos regularly. A like would be very much appreciated as well. It helps the channel grow. See you in the next video or see you in premium. Cheers.